What is up, guys? We got a top 8 deck profile with, what is your name and what did you win with?
I'm Jack Fast. I won with Perona.
Yeah, nice.
Perona is probably my favorite leader they've ever printed.
Ever? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
by far.
What made you want to choose this leader out of all the other leaders in set 6?
I never wanted to play Sakazuki because I don't like playing the best deck in any game, really. I try to play the second best deck, and when I saw that Perona had 2 leader abilities that you didn't need to pay Dawn for, I realized that this was Sakazuki Part 2, where this leader is just absolutely broken because you have 2 free abilities that you don't have to pay Dawn into. Also, being able to rest Borsalino is a huge part of the meta and allows you to get free games where otherwise you would have been block 6'd.
Oh, I see. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and deck profile real quick?
Yeah. So the first card in the deck is the Searcher for Baby 5 because you're playing a heavy Doflamingo package in this deck. You're playing the 2K counter Doflamingo. You're playing the 2-drop Doflamingo that has blocker on it, the Rosinante Corazon. And you're playing Doflamingo himself, the 10-drop. And so being able to search for those the whole game or on turn 1 or 2 is really strong. Also, being a Bonnie Searcher, one of the ones that taps and holds itself, helps keep your life afloat as a 4-life leader. Your opponent has to swing into it or you'll get too much card advantage.
Got it.
So activating it turn 1 or activating 2 of them on turn 2, if you're on the play, is extremely strong because that way you get 2 extra cards in your hand that your opponent has to deal with, often 2Ks or Doflamingo himself, and then they have to swing into it with 5 and then waste a swing, and you just always let it die.
Got it.
The next card on the list is very similar. It's Brand New. Brand New is probably the most broken searcher in the game, being able to, as it adds stuff to your trash, which you'll see is relevant later with Gecko Moira. Also, both of these cards, Brand New and Baby 5, being able to search Doflamingo means that you can search, or Navy, and Doflamingo means you can search the best 2K in the new format, which is Virgo. Virgo is extremely strong. It's a 2K that can be searched by both your searchers, so your searchers often never blank. I don't think I blanked a search today off of Baby 5. I blanked 1 search off Brand New, though. But even the search I blanked off Brand New, I milled 4 drops, which I was able to play with Gecko Moira later in the game.
Got it, okay.
So it's Brand New is also one of the only ways you can get your 4-drop Ryuma into play, which I guess will be the next card I talk about. Or I'll show you the other 2K counters before I hit, which is the best 2K counter in the game, Suru. Comboing Suru with the -4, -1 ability on Perona is extremely powerful as it allows you to -2 a 5 or 6 drop and then rest it with Perona, so you can get through Sabo blocker, you can get through any egregious blocker that your opponent might have in their deck. Also, the Perona Suru combo leads into you being able to X Drake and Ryuma your opponent's 6 and 7 drops.
I see.
So being able to hard removal, I've said this since day 1 in this game, is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So the strategy with the Surus and stuff is you want to definitely hold them in hand for counter all the time, and you only want to play them when you're sure you can go for game or you're head on board.
Got it, okay.
Otherwise, just counter them out with 2Ks, and then you can bring them back with Gecko later.
Got it.
Next is one of the most powerful cards ever printed, Doflamingo Rosinante. This card finally gets its time to shine in set 6. Being able to make a rested, if your card is rested, then you can sack this instead of whatever rested card's being swung into. So the best time to use this blocker, besides it just normally being a blocker, is when you get it off Gecko Moira and it's tapped. Then your opponent has to swing into it first before they swing into your other creatures. And so if they invest Dawn and then swing into one of your blockers that are rested, or one of your characters that are rested, you just sack it, and then boom, your guy's alive. Okay. And then your opponent's wasted Dawn.
Makes sense.
The next cards are the blockers. Sabo is extremely powerful against Sakazuki. Your opponent can't KO any of your stuff on board, so make sure to play out your cards first before you play Sabo, because the effect only applies to what you have on board when you play Sabo. So a card that doesn't need to worry about that much is Borsalino. I don't know how much I need to explain Borsalino. It's probably the strongest card in the game at the moment. It is unkillable by effects. It is a 6K blocker on your opponent's turn, and for 2 Dawn, you can swing 7 with it.
Yeah.
All for 4, and it has counter 1,000 on it. It's absolutely bananas. This card is insane.
Yeah.
So that's the blocker package, and then we get to the greedy package, which is running 3 Kuzan. Kuzan is probably one of those cards that you could cut if you want to play more defensive. If this card resolves though, you always draw a card, so he's always net neutral. -4ing in this format is extremely relevant. Again, you need to kill geckos, you need to -4, and then you can combo with the -1 in order to use the next package of cards much more efficiently. So Kuzan leads into making your X-Drakes and your Ryumas incredibly powerful. Like I said, hard removal is incredibly strong. So with Perona, oftentimes what you want to do is you want to rest your opponent's character, you want to rest a 4-drop, 4-mana 5k, and you want to swing 5 into it.
Yeah.
Because your opponent then has 2 options. Either they let it die, sure, whatever, or they counter out of it. If they counter out of it and then you just hard removal it, your opponent now has wasted 2 cards for basically a card for 0 cards from you, and you're just left with a 6k body on board. X-Drake, been around since OP-01, never really got time to shine in that format, finally gets to shine in this format. Also, he's searchable via Navy, so you can grab him off of your brand news. Navy for brand new as well. The only card you can't search in the deck, but is way too powerful not to play, is Ryuma.
I see.
Ryuma is just way too strong. On play, on KO. I don't think I've ever gotten the on KO effect to happen. I think maybe it killed a pudding today, but being able to force your opponent to swing into it with their leader first before your characters, and if you counter out of it, they kind of can't kill it. Otherwise, they 2-for-1 it. But it's pretty disgusting.
And this is the box that he was able to win for the case tourney.
Yes,
Pretty nice.
we nailed it. We did very well. I was
got it with
very,
Perona.
very excited with Perona.
Nice.
A box and a half was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Now we get into, actually, I will talk about this card last.
Okay.
Because it takes a lot of explaining.
Sure.
Gecko Moira. This does not take much explaining.
Only 3, huh?
This card should get restricted. This card's way too good. You should never be able to refill your entire board for 1 card. I mean, every card I've shown you except X-Drake, you can get back.
I see.
And so you get back your Rested Rosinante blocker, which then protects everything on board. And you also get a 8-mana 9k, which is basically, if you're familiar with Magic, I call it the Abyss, because every time you swing with it, it's either eating a card, it's eating a life, or it's eating a blocker.
Yeah.
It's the Abyss. Your opponent can't deal with this thing effectively. The only card that deals with it effectively is Sakazuki if they resolve a Kuzan, but your deck is so stacked against Kuzans that your opponent... I didn't have one opponent swinging with me Kuzan against me. They never got to resolve it. It was on the board, and then I killed it. It was deleted. Because let's say you rest it, right? And then you rest it, and you don't have an X-Drake in hand, you just Dawn up and kill it.
Yeah, right.
Because you need to remove Kuzan. The card is too powerful.
Got it.
Then I'll talk about the finishing move. Your resting stuff.
Oh,
You play 4 Doflamingo.
your real boss monster.
This card is your boss monster. This is how you end the game. If you're playing with Magic, it's your Time Walk. If you're playing against a deck that doesn't have Rush, which is everything except red and yellow right now, unless you're playing a Yamato, with Yamato against Hody Jones, that card sucks. Hody Jones is really, really good against your deck. There's really not much you can do against it. Yamato might be your worst matchup with this deck, 4-life leader.
4-life leader, yeah.
And your opponent doesn't care if you rest their stuff. They just say, Unga Bunga, and they hit you.
Bunga.
Doflamingo is your top end, and against Yamato, you're often not really getting close to being able to play it. But with your Gecko Moiras and with your Ryumas, all of your no counter cards, the best card that you have to run is these. This is because the side of justice will be whichever side wins.
Such a long title.
Fun fact about this card, it is the longest title in the game, and it also has changed the font entirely because of it, leading to it being one of the largest cards, longest names in the game, as well as one of the hardest cards for them to print. These cards actually probably weigh a little more because of the amount of ink.
Yeah.
That's something for Magic the Gathering.
History is written by the victors.
History is written by the victors. This card is disgusting. If it wouldn't be a green card if it didn't say rest one of your opponent's characters before or less on the trigger. I never got the trigger off. I never really needed it. But because your character rests them all the time, so I just drew it rather than triggering it from life. You trigger it to go for game if need be, but if your opponent's smart, they will attack you before playing their characters, or they'll attack with their characters first against the green decks. This is also one of the other ways to get Ryuma into the yard in order to play it off Gecko Moira, because you cannot play X-Drake off Gecko Moira.
Got it.
The next card I'll go into is the card that you see in some lists, the card you don't see in some other lists. This is one of them. Some people choose to play 2/2Ks over this, but I'm a greedy guy, and I play a lot of no counters in this list, or more than I'm willing to admit, because I only have 8 2Ks, so these are necessary.
There we go.
These cards used to be 2 Shishigis, but the mirror for Perona is the worst mirror they have ever printed in this entire game. You got to play Brook. Brook gets around rules like no other card. I actually had one game where I could have shuffled 3 cards from my opponent's trash into their bin and they wouldn't have been able to Rob Lucci me. But since Brook was my only card on field and I had Arrested Rosinante, I felt pretty safe in not doing that, and I just trashed I actually trashed a 7-drop Borsalino with a comboing it with a Suru and a -1.
Okay. And you said you used the other ability of Brook here to disrupt?
The other ability of Brook is absolutely to disrupt other people's Gecko Moiras. It is incredibly strong against Rob Lucci if your opponent has it in the early game. Against decks that aren't Sakazuki that play Rob Lucci, you are an incredibly powerful deck against all of those things. The on-play effect is just so strong that in the Perona mirror, it allows you to -1 with Perona, then get rid of a 5-drop, so you can get rid of their X-Drakes. You can kill Borsalino instantaneously with it. You never have to swing into it. Without this card, I would not have won the mirror that I played today.
I see.
I also probably wouldn't have been able to beat a Sakazuki today without it.
All right, so it's a mirror breaker, but also against black too.
It's the black mirror breaker.
Okay.
This card is absolutely bananas. I'm really upset it didn't get an alternate art, but I love the art on it.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I don't even understand it. I don't know why there's a mouse with salt. I'm sure people are gonna light me up in the comments like with some great anime lore. Please do. Feel free to.
I actually don't know either. I've watched the anime.
All I gotta say is, the salt was real.
Yes.
The salt was real when I played this card against. I gotta kill 2 Sabos with this card.
Very cool.
For free. -1 Perona. Adios.
Yes.
With the Brook.
Because it has the word trash up to it.
It has the word trash.
As opposed to KO.
The other card that you can kill with it is a card that you don't really want to kill is Kiki Nojo, the card that gains you a life. Your opponent does not gain a life if you trash it.
Oh, very cool.
It gets trashed. It's just adios. It into the bin.
Very cool.
Card is incredibly powerful. It has no counter on it though, which makes it super risky to play.
I wonder if Sakazuki will actually pick up this card and play it.
Sakazuki's too good not to play this card, unfortunately. They have too many better options than this. They don't need a trash either, they just can bottom deck.
Yeah.
But it is, there probably are lists that do run it over 7-drop Borsalino because it is just that powerful, because it is, I would play 4 of these if I was greedier and I decided not to play Kuzan.
Got it.
But I felt like Kuzan's necessary because it net neutrals. I think 80% of the time I played Kuzan, I drew a card off it that had counter power on it. So I was like, oh sweet, it just replaces itself, it's net neutral. But this card, this is the mirror breaker. Without this, you cannot, the Perona mirror is going to be a grind.
Yeah, good to know.
This blows it wide open.
What were your matchups throughout the whole day?
So round 1, I played oh man, you're making me think. Let's see, round 1 I played Gecko Moira.
Right.
And I was able to play a more valuable Gecko Moira than they were by resting their 4-drop and KOing it with a Ryuma from bin. And I was able to play a Rosinante blocker off it. And the turn after, I played Doflamingo, and I was able to rest his whole board. And rather than going for board, I just went for life. And I was able to, because I didn't need to go for board at that point, because he could have, at max, the turn after, played 2 blockers. Which would be 2 Borsalinos in that deck, and I could rest one and swing I could rest one of the blockers, and then I could swing lead, swing Gecko Moira, and swing Doflamingo, and that was enough for lethal. Round 2, I played Katakuri and I lost. Katakuri's probably one of the tougher matchups in the entire game. 7 Mom is just such a powerful card. You can't deal with your opponent's top end with this deck. Your opponent's top end is better than yours, unfortunately. You have Geckos, you have blockers. Round 3, I brought it back against I played a Perona mirror, and I drew my Brooks, and he did not.
Nice.
And that's what won me the game.
He might not even play it.
Yeah, I think he had 1 in there. I had 2. I was able to Brook trash a Sabo, and I believe a Borsalino, and that was his defense, and there's just nothing you could do about it. Also in the Perona mirror, whoever plays Doflamingo second wins. So they Doflamingo you Doflamingo them. They Doflamingo you Doflamingo them. And if they don't have a 3rd Doflamingo, it's over. They just can't win. You've time walked them too much, and you don't swing at Doflamingo.
You have foreseen this.
You do not want to try to swing at that card. You're gonna get 2K'd. The next match was, I believe, I played another Katakuri, or man, man, I played a lot of different decks today.
Sakazuki?
Another Gecko Moira,
Uh-huh.
which I beat because their hand was really interesting. Their hand was, they had all their Peronas, and they had Gecko Moira. So their goal was they were just trying to trash all the cards from my hand.
Yeah.
But this deck doesn't really care about that because you run. I had two baby 5s.
Yeah.
So I was able to just refuel. I was like, oh, cool, trash. I just refueled with baby 5. And I was like, okay,
They never
cool,
attacked your
that's
baby
okay.
5 at all?
He was KOing them, but I was able to baby 5 into baby 5.
Oh, I see.
And so baby 5 into baby 5 is extremely powerful because
Yeah.
it allows you to get 2 cards up on your opponent and it eats 2 swings, and then you're still at 4 or 3 or 4 life.
Okay.
So by the end of the game, by the time he could have lethal on me, I was still at 2 life and there wasn't much he could do.
Okay.
Then I played against another Katakuri who I was able to beat. That Katakuri was running all of the triggers in the game. I swear to God, he had every trigger card in the game. He had Russian Nell, he had Amaru, and I realized that he had 7 cards in hand, so I swung 5 lead and he took it, and then I'm like, 6 lead? He gave me a 2K. I'm like, another 6 lead? He gave me another 2K. I'm like, he's just been baiting me to 2Ks. So I just baited out all of his 2Ks for the first 3 turns, and then I was able to set up, instead of playing Doflamingo, I just donned up my guy 7-7-7-7, and he just didn't have a counter.
Yeah, eventually ran out.
His hand was like 3 big moms, a 7 drop, and I had eaten all of his 2K counter powers, which were 3 cards. And I was like, yeah, that's what you get for playing a really greedy, awesome deck. But I'm sure he had won games because his opponents had seen 7 cards and been like, I'm not swinging life, and then they lost to multiple big moms in a row.
Got it.
I'm like, I can't let him drop a big mom on me. I just got to swing. I would have lost to double Amaru, though, on his last turn, but he didn't have it. Thank God. Then I played against a Sakazuki, who I proceeded to lose to, and it was crazy close.
Yeah.
It was close to the point where he had to win by Great Eruptioning me into Hail Mary into another -3, which he found off Hina.
Yeah.
Hina into a Suru into a Houndblaze in order to kill my 10-drop Doflamingo.
Wow.
After I had played 2 of them, leaving me with only 2 attacks on 2 life.
Yeah.
It was crazy close. I had 1 life basically. I had 3 life most of the game until the end when he swung at my life and was able to just KO me. So it didn't come down to not much counter power. We just played board control the whole game. It was very fun. It was very good. Brooke was crazy in that matchup too. Made it closer than it should have been. And then the round after, I played, I think, another Sakazuki who I beat. And that Sakazuki was very greedy, I think. They had the event that they played in their deck. They didn't see Hina, and they drew most of their Rebekahs. And the problem is when you see Rebekah and you don't see Hina, and you see Gecko Moira, and you have Rob Lucci's in the bin, there's not much you can do. Also, I saw 3 of my Sabos, so that probably is what set it for me.
Yeah.
I was able to Sabo the turn before he could Rob Lucci me every game.
Right.
So every turn. So he was unable to kill any of my stuff due to Sabo effect.
Yeah.
He had to bottom deck a Sabo after wasting 2 cards on it in a swing, leaving him with 3 cards in hand, and I was able to 7-7-7 him after resting a Borsalino for free with my Perona leader. And that's what got me into top 8. That was my last game. And that was crazy. So I was really lucky. I was really fortunate to be able to beat that guy because he just ran out of cards in hand.
Am I going to see you at Santa Clara Regionals coming up?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't get in. I lost the lottery on the thing, but you will see me playing online on the sim a lot. I go by Mammoth on the sim. If you see me,
Okay.
if you see me concede, by the way, or time out, it's because I'm at work and I needed to pick up on the job. I needed to actually do something at work.
Yeah.
But I try to rematch all the time, and you'll see me playing at the regionals. I got into both the online regionals for Core, and I'm going to try to get into Core LA this weekend.
Any changes
on the 31st?
Any changes you would make to your deck list?
I actually would not make any changes right now. I think this list is pretty cracked. I think that the only change that some people might think of is getting rid of these for 2K counters, but the only reason I would get rid of these is if I got rid of the Brooks. I don't think I'm getting rid of Brooke anytime soon. Brooke is just way too strong. He overperformed for me today, and I think that I would jump it up to 4 in the future, but having too many Brooks in hand is really bad.
Yeah, true.
So if I bumped up Brooke, I would have to bump this up, and then I would have to go down on some other tech card.
Yeah.
But the shell is incredibly powerful. I think if they end up doing more bans, if Bandai gets a little heavy with the ban hammer, Perona could get the axe just because
Really?
two free leader abilities on one card is way too strong.
I see.
But I don't see that happening because yellow is going to be way too good in set 7.
Yeah, for for sure. Okay.
And that's basically it.
Thank you for the deck profile.
Anytime. Thank you for interviewing me.
Yeah, hopefully I
appreciate
see you more in the future for more top cuts, top choice gaming events.
Of course, yeah. No, I try to come out here at least twice a month. So yeah. It's a bit of a drive, but it's worth it.
You're far away from here?
I live in Orange County.
Okay, that's not bad.
Not a bad drive. On the weekdays, impossible. Weekends,
Easy.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the deck profile, and I'll see you next time.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.